Hey guys, Leonidas here. Today we're talking about Pinhoti Trail trail towns where I think you need to definitely make a point to stop. So I'm going to go in order of how you run into them onto trail, not the order that I went to them on trail, since my hike was a little bit out of the ordinary. So I'll just kind of, I guess, go into that a little bit. I started off at the time what was mile marker 103.3, went north to High Spring Trailhead, came home, came back out later, did from the southern terminus all the way to Cheaha State Park, came home, went back later, started at High Point, made it to Dalton, got rained out because of poor weather and flooding, came home, came back out this year in November, started in Dalton, made it to the terminus, came back to Cheaha, left the car, walked to the spot where I started originally, and then went into Heflin. So that's kind of the convoluted order of how I encountered these trail towns, but I'm going to go in order of how you would run into them if you were headed northbound on the trail. So first up is the town of Heflin, Alabama. I'm torn on saying that this may be, to me, the best stop on the trail. It is definitely worth taking the 3.7 mile spur if you have to, or going to the ranger station and seeing if they can call town hall if it is, before 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday through Friday. If you make arrangements ahead of time, I've even heard that some of the folks, maybe from City Hall, will come down on a Saturday to meet you. Heflin is really wanting to be engaged with Pinhoti Trail hikers, and they have it set up where you can camp in the city park. They've got a place for hammocks set up. There's food. There is a hotel there, but it's not within walking distance per se. But the people are very friendly, and I think you'd be hard-pressed not to find a way to get to the hotel if that's where you needed to go. But, this town is really outdoing themselves as far as what a trail town is. I've been in a couple of trail towns on the AT as well. Hiawassee. I've been to Hot Springs. I've been to Damascus. Damascus is a huge trail town. Heflin, they got their own special kind of trail town, let me tell you. So on my hike, when I finished the trail at Forest Service 500 Trailhead, I had planned on taking the spur, and I was going to walk to Heflin because I said, hey, they've set up this trail for hikers to come in. I want to hike it and walk into town and finish the spur at City Hall. But due to weather and the cold and just timing, I didn't think I was going to be able to get there in time. So I went to the ranger station when I finished my hike to kind of dry off. And I didn't really ask them about getting to Heflin till someone that worked there came in and asked me if I'd be interested in having someone call town hall and see if they could come get me. So I was definitely interested in that. So the lady that works at the desk called down there and said, hey, we've got a hiker out here. Do you have anybody that can come get him? And they sent, I believe he told me he was the assistant superintendent of city streets, came pick me up in his truck. We had a great chat. He dropped me off at the door of City Hall, and then he went back to go to work. So I got out, had my stuff out, and there's a bench there right by the Pinhoti Trail Spur sign that I've seen plenty of people get their pictures at, with various people, the mayor and just different people in City Hall. So I was out there kind of trying to figure out, do I just wander into City Hall? What's the protocol for this? And next thing I know, Miss Tammy came out and said, hey, come on in, we've been waiting for you. Bring my stuff in, set it down. She brings me a piping hot cup of coffee. They have me sign in the guest book, give me a sticker. Everybody was great. I smelled terrible. They didn't care. We had a great time, great conversation. And so my thing also was I was trying to figure out how I was going to get back to my car, which was, about 25, 30 miles away. I guess maybe it's 20 on the road from there. Either way, I needed to get them back to my car at some point, but I also wanted to eat at one of the restaurants in town, Flora's Table, which I had heard was really good. Good comments on it in Gut Hooks. So I kind of, they asked me what I wanted to do or what I needed to do. And I explained, I'm trying to figure out a way to get back to my car at some point, and I really want to eat. And so they said, hey, if you want to eat now, Flora's Table is just right next to here. We can, someone can take you to your car after that if you want, or, they were just pretty much, we can do whatever you would like. The mayor came out. I got to meet him, Mayor Rudy. We went out, took a picture together out at the sign, and had a great chat with him as well. And he offered to drive me back to my car whenever I was ready to go. He had a couple things he needed to do first, which was fine. So I said, hey, tell you what, I said, if I can get back to my car when you guys are done, working, my plan then was I'll just get to my car and I'll just drive back into town, because I don't know how long it's going to take me to eat. And I don't want to feel rushed, and I don't want to put anybody out either. So I said, hey, just whenever you're ready, let me know, and we'll go. So Mayor Rudy drove me back to my car. We had a great conversation. Turns out that our paths had crossed many, many years before, which ended up being quite a hilarious story when it all came out. So that was really a great time. I really enjoyed riding with him and just kind of talking a little bit about the area and just kind of our backgrounds and how we had ended up where we were. So I did come back into town and ate at Flora's Table, and it was ridiculously good. The prices were incredible. Service was outstanding. They assured me that I could sit anywhere I wanted to, but again, I did not smell nice, and I kind of sat off in a corner by myself just to, hopefully keep anyone from being offended by my dirty clothes and bad smell. But all in all, great time. Like I said, great. The food was incredible, incredibly well priced. So I even told my wife, I said, hey, we're gonna have to drive over here so you can eat here, just because the food is it's incredible. A lot of it was locally sourced, if not almost all of it, I think, was locally sourced. Like I said, excellent. So if you're hiking through, you definitely need to stop in Heflin. I'm not guaranteeing that you'll get the same level of treatment, but from what I've seen from other people, the people of Heflin are definitely willing to go out of their way to help hikers. So there is a Dollar General right near Town Hall as well. So if you need a resupply, that is right there. Like I said, you can set up in the park. They allow hikers to camp in the city park. And like I said, there's a setup for hammocks, and I believe they have electrical outlets as well to charge devices. And that's all in Gut Hooks, what they have at that camping setup. So Heflin, you have to stop in Heflin. Next up would be Cave Springs, Georgia. So right after you cross the border from Alabama to Georgia, you will drop down off the mountain, and there will be the last shelter on the Pinhoti Trail if you're going northbound. Darwin and I stayed at that shelter before we headed into Cave Springs the next day, and it's a very nice shelter. It looked like it had been recently done, and there was some bridge work after that. The trail has changed some, from what I understand, from when we went through in 2018. There's some additional areas that have pulled some of the road walk out and kind of changed up how you get into Cave Spring, which from what I understand, pulled some more of it off the road walk. So they're constantly trying to improve the trail and just kind of trying to minimize that road walk, because they know, a lot of people just don't want to do road walks. I don't personally mind it. I like the scenery. I like the pace a road walk enables me to do. There's some downsides to it, when you're out in the country, a lot of times there's some loose dogs and things you have to deal with. But for the most part, I haven't had a bad experience on a road walk. So road walks don't really bother me. No, they're not my favorite. I would prefer to be out in the woods and, looking at nature, but a road walk isn't a deterrent to me for whether or not I'm going to hike a trail. So, like I said, Cave Springs, you walk directly through town. when you get to Cave Springs. They have a natural spring, hence Cave Springs, where you can get water. From what I understand, the water is very good. I did not get any of it, unfortunately, when we went through, but from what I have seen pictures of and heard, locals will even go fill up jugs of water from the spring to take it home to use for drinking and cooking and other stuff, even though they have, plumbing. So Cave Spring is very concentrated. Everything is kind of there. There's some really good restaurants, Southern Flavor. I have to recommend. Darwin and I ate there in 2018, and fortunately the day we arrived, it was all-you-can-eat catfish, and I'm not a huge fish guy. I like salmon. Smoked salmon is my favorite. Ahi tuna, I like that. But this catfish, hands down, best catfish I've had in my life. So there's several restaurants. There's not, I think you can camp in the city park. You will need to check on Gut Hooks or check with them. But there is a little B&B and maybe another place to stay. There's a Dollar General just off the main square, so that's nice. There's also another grocery store kind of catty-corner to it on the same little off-road that goes there. They do not have a laundromat. I believe Heflin did. I didn't need to do laundry since I was finished, but I think Heflin had a laundromat. Cave Springs, from what I know, unless it's changed recently, does not have a laundromat. So just keep that in mind. Cave Springs, we got a little special kind of trail magic there. I was hiking with Darwin, and we had a lady contact us through his Facebook Messenger and say, hey, I have a travel trailer set up for you guys in downtown on the square with power for you guys to use to stay here in town for the night if you wish, or if you just want to come in town, use it, shower, whatever, and head out, that's fine. But I've put it downtown for you. You're free to use it. Just make sure you go to a specific place where they have the key for you. So again, I received some special trail magic there, which was really meaningful to me. That was just crazy to me for that kind of trail magic to happen. The lady who provided that for us, there ended up being some issues with the camper being downtown, and she had to move it back onto her property. But even so, it still worked out well. She came and got us. Her son came down as well. He brought the trailer back up to their house. She took Darwin and I to a convenience store where they had Hunt Brothers Pizza. We got some pizzas and I got a soda. He might have, I don't remember what he got. And then took us back to her house. We, got to the trailer. They went to bed. We ate dinner, showered up, slept there. She offered to drive us back to trail because she lives, up in the mountains there. She said, hey, I'm leaving it, around, 5:45-ish. If you guys want to ride into town, I'll be glad to take you. But if you want to stay longer, that's fine. But you'll need to walk back to town. So I took her up on the ride offer, and she dropped us off at 6 a.m. and we headed out for that long road walk. If you've looked at that section from Cave Spring all the way to High Point Trailhead, unless you go to Lock and Dam Park, there is not anywhere to camp. So that was my final day on trail with Darwin, and that leads me to Rome, Georgia. So you do walk through, I believe it's considered West Rome. There's a Dollar General slightly off trail there. There's some other little shops. There are 2 large truck stop convenience stores there. And from what I understand, one of them has been known to let hikers camp behind it on the property. So that's something you can look at, possibly contact them if you're going to be doing that section and you are not willing to do a 32 and a half, I think it was just a High Point Trailhead, 32.4 at that time. It may have changed some. I don't think anything's changed on that part of the road walk at this point. So if you cannot do a 30, you're probably looking at maybe even a 35-mile day before you could find a spot to actually camp after High Point. that is an option. Lock and Dam, like I said, is an option that you could camp there as well. But to get to the truck stops, that's about an 18-mile day, so that might be a good option for you as well. Again, I was with Darwin, and so when we got to High Point, we had been trying to figure out a way to get possibly into town, but my wife and kids were coming to pick me up, and so we just figured, well, we'll just maybe they can get us and take us into Rome, and then we'll, maybe we'll figure something out, whatever. Well, Darwin had someone else contact him and say, hey, I can come get you guys and take you into Rome proper if you would like, and then they were going to let Darwin stay at their house and then bring him back to trail the next day. So that's what we did. We got a ride in. We went to Walmart to pick up a couple things for Darwin. Then we went across the street and hit up a Chinese buffet with my wife and the kids. And then I headed out, and then the lady who offered her a place to stay and give us a ride picked Darwin up and took her back to his house. So Rome is a possibility where you could possibly, either stay behind the gas stations, which is a decent option if you don't want to do a long day, or there are several Facebook groups for Alabama and Georgia and the Pinhoti Trail in general. If you use Messenger, you may be able to throw it out there and say, hey, I'm on the trail and I really need to get to here or there. And from what I have seen, people are pretty responsive to help hikers all up and down the trail. I've read trail journal accounts of other people getting all kinds of trail magic on the Pinhoti. So there's definitely options. Please be aware that what you do in these trail towns reflects on all of us as hikers. So if I can ask, to please act appropriately, because again, it affects all of us, and generally, bad behavior, bad things happening are a lot harder to get past for people in the towns than it is the good things that happen, the good experiences they have. So just something to think about. Next up is Dalton. Sorry, I got lost there for a minute. Dalton, Chatsworth, that area of the trail. When you come off the trail and start the road walk through Dalton, that is pretty daunting. Again, it's not, I don't think it's as far of a walk before you can camp. And then again, you're in Dalton, there's tons of motels, restaurants. So if you time it, based on your pace, you can camp before you come in and maybe get all the way through to the next spot you can camp, or, maybe you want a zero. But Dalton has a lot of things to offer for a hiker. There is laundry. There's tons of hotels. Walmart. There's a Walmart. I only thought there was a Walmart off trail. You walk right past a Walmart on trail on the road walk. So there's plenty of places for resupply. You walk by a couple Dollar Generals. Dalton has a lot of things to offer. And again, there's a lot of people in Georgia in that area that are willing to help hikers as well. I've heard of some other accounts. For me personally, I ran into Richard Moon, who works with the Georgia Pinhoti Trail, while he was out blazing a new portion of the trail to help get it off the road walk. And he offered me his number and said, hey, if you need anything, let me know, and we'll see what we can, work out. And I noticed later when I got back, that was when he posted, he likes to post hiker pictures when he meets you. So he posted my picture up and just kind of said, hey, and I was heading into some cold weather. And I saw later where several people were making sure that I was prepared, or if I needed anything, that they were available to help. So Dalton definitely has the potential. If you need some help, there are people in that area as well. I really enjoyed Dalton. The road walk wasn't bad. I started at 5:45 in the morning, so I was kind of hoping to get through anywhere where it might be too trafficy or just kind of crazy before it got bad. And I didn't have a bad experience on the road at all. I had no issues walking the road. So that was great. I stopped at
one of the convenience stores that's technically in Dalton. I think it's close to Chatsworth. There's a section of trail where you walk by 3 convenience stores in a row. I stopped at the first. If you have gut hooks, there'll be a comment directing you to go to this gas station and ask for, I can't think of her name now. There's a lady that works there, and she is awesome. She loves to help hikers. I believe she works every day just about. The guy that runs the store, I met him as well. He is also awesome. He enjoys hikers. He likes hearing why people are out there hiking. So that is a great place to stop. They let me sit in the store for like an hour. I just needed to stop and get off my feet, have somewhere to sit down. They have outdoor seating and they have indoor seating. They have Hunt Brothers Pizza. They've got all kinds of food in there. Restrooms. So definitely I consider that part of Dalton. I think it is technically Dalton. Great place to stop. They were bent over backwards for anything I needed. There was a young lady ahead of me on trail that they were concerned about having enough gear for the weather, and they gave me phone number to call and said, if either of you need anything, please call me. I live near the trailhead. We'll make it happen, if you need anything. So Dalton was great, and I ended up actually coming back to that same convenience store when I finished to get a pizza and just kind of hang out while I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, since I ended up finishing later than I had planned that night. And since I was that late, the owner even offered, he said, hey, if you need to, he said, we actually own all the property, this corner of the road here and the wooded area behind it. He said, if you want, you're more than welcome to go back there in the woods and set your tent up. And he said, someone will be here in the morning and you can get breakfast and whatever you need. We'll make sure that, you have what you need if you want to stay here. So again, Dalton, great place to stop. And really that's your last town, Dalton, Chatsworth, in that area. That's the last thing you have before you get to the terminus. After Dalton, there is a mountain bike hostel-y type place that if you needed to, you can get off there. I did not go by there. If you've watched my day 3 video at this point, I did debate going there, but to me at that point, it seemed like it was going to be a vortex and I may not be able to finish what I was trying to get done. So those are my top 4 main trail towns. Like I said, Heflin, it is a spur to get to it, but there is potential to get picked up. If you don't want to do the spur and you did want to walk, they did tell me that it's a 2-mile walk on the road, but it is a 2-lane highway. Traffic is, it's a 55-mile-an-hour road, and there's not much shoulder, so it's pretty dangerous to walk it. But, there is that. Cave Springs is, your typical type of trail town where you walk through the town and it has what you need. Like I said, Rome, you walk through West Rome and there is some stuff there, and there are, people that can possibly get you elsewhere if you wanted to stay, a little more in Rome proper. And then, like I said, Dalton, again, Dalton is kind of, it has it all. Whatever you need is there available. So that is the good thing about Dalton, is if you want a hotel, you want a 0 in a hotel, or the weather's just bad and you want to just get out and get dry, and there you go. You can kind of pick your price in Dalton for what you want to do. Like I said, there are some trail angels around that area that I've heard that have given hikers accommodation at some cabins and various other things. So, there are options there. So just be aware of that. I'm torn on who I think is really the best, because every trail town to me had a different vibe and a different kind of trail magic to it, and just a different overall feel. Like I said, I really enjoyed Heflin because I just feel like they're so hiker focused that it's a unique experience being in Heflin. So those are my 4 trail towns you need to try to make sure you stop in or visit while you're on the Pinhoti. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for subscribing and appreciate the views. I hope you guys have a great day.